Let's welcome in James Olley. James, what are we doing here? Are we going glass half full, go to Italy, tough opponents, get a point? Or do we look at it a little bit more critically and say, once again, in Europe, Arsenal are very much a shadow of themselves, almost scared to play?
Yeah, it's a good question because last season, they had a terrible away record. They lost in Munich, they lost in Porto, they won in Seville. Trying to think where else they played. They did not have a great record, and that this is an extension of that. And they were timid, and they weren't fluid in the final third as we kind of have come to expect from Arsenal. But I think we have to look at this probably glass half full, given where we are in the season. It's obviously the first Champions League game, new format. There's a lot to sort of take into account here. They were missing one or two players, most obviously Martin Odegaard. It comes in the middle of a massive week for them. They've just played the North London derby. They've got the Premier League champions Manchester City away from home on Sunday. So I think in that context, it's a positive result. And it's probably the kind of game that they would have lost a couple of years ago. They didn't quite have the same defensive resilience. They weren't really able to dig in the same way that they did in this game a year or two ago. So I think we probably look at it positively, notwithstanding the fact that there are one or two concerns about just how losing Martin Odegaard has affected the fluidity of the team going forward. Because I thought it was interesting that he went for a different approach tonight, Arteta, by dropping Havertz in and playing Jesus as a number 9. And it's quite interesting, that change of position, because I think he thinks Havertz can do the defensive stuff very well, and he's very good off the ball. He's very diligent, and there are a few times where he was tracking back and you saw him making challenges in his own defensive third in the first half. But what you have sacrificed by playing Havertz a little bit deeper is the way that it clicked in the second half of last season when Havertz was playing through the middle and they were scoring goals for fun. And they've not quite found the answer yet, I think, to how they want to play at their best in terms of their attacking intent without Martin Odegaard.
Away against Porto, away against Bayern, the kind of games that really strike you from Arsenal last season where they didn't really turn up, where we saw these sort of performances, where we see them go to the Premier League, go toe-to-toe, play this attacking, exciting football. Am I asking too much for Arsenal then to transfer that onto the European stage? Because we don't see it. We haven't seen it. There seems to be this don't lose mentality as opposed to what we see in the Premier League, which is, right, let's go and win it.
It's a fair observation, and it's one that is backed up by the performances. It's not just you just sat here today and let me make up a conversation about Arsenal.
That's what I do.
It is.
We've been doing this show for a long time.
Yes, it's a fair observation, and it is backed up again by the performances. And I think from today's performance anyway, what is, if you want to call it disappointing, is that they really hang on David Raya coming up with a double save. Wonderful on the penalty kick save, but even better on the follow-up save. If they had lost this game, as they should have, given that double save from David Raya, then we're having a totally, completely different conversation. And so we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that it's a game that they probably, if anybody was going to win, it was Atalanta. It wasn't a great game, and by a great, not being a great game, I mean it was awful to watch. And my concern with Arsenal is that they don't quite take that step, and we're saying in Europe, but they don't quite take that step away from home in this sort of competition for us to see the personality of the team. And when you lose your personality as a group, then I think you lose quality in terms of the performance. And I understand that maybe the solution is Kai Havertz drops in and Gabriel Jesus plays up top. But Kai Havertz proved last year that playing in that position is not for him. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for him. It doesn't work for the club. And you actually got this guy scoring goals, which we thought that, man, it took a while to get himself going. And he actually got himself going because of playing up top. And now you remove him. You're trying to resolve an issue in the absence of Martin Odegaard. By trying to resolve that issue, you're creating other issues. And that's the part that I don't quite understand, because you're erring on the side of being conservative instead of being a proactive team that goes and takes the game to Atalanta. We put this team side by side and you say Arsenal, even without Martin Odegaard, should be better than Atalanta. And yet they were not today.